YouTube, what's good? Finally back with another episode of the OE Podcast. I'm your boy K-Sounds. Now I know it took me a minute to come with the second episode, but I wanted to upgrade some things. Upgrade my sound, upgrade production, give you some quality to look at. It's been so much football, in fact, I think now I'm gonna split the shows up between NFL and college because it's too much to jam pack, and then push the video out on Monday to give you quality content in the scheduled time. So we're gonna split the shows up and do it college football, and then we're gonna do NFL, and we're gonna work like that. Now with that being said, welcome to the OE Podcast. I'm your boy K-Sounds. Got a big show, CFB Week 9, big football. From Texas, making a statement in the SEC, to the Texas A&M Aggies pulling the QB switcheroo that paid off big, and Colorado punching their ticket into a bowl game. We're breaking it all down right now, plus some more football games. Let's get right into it. First up, Ole Miss Rebels gave Oklahoma a beatdown, 26-14. Now Ole Miss got right to it and wasted no time driving downfield, with Henry Parrish Jr. striking first with a 9-yard tutty. Took a couple of plays for Oklahoma QB Jackson Arnold to settle in, but once he did, he finds big fella Bao Sharp for 11-yard tutty. Both defenses were locked in with back-to-back fumbles. Check it out. Taylor Tatum fumbles recovered by Chris Paul Jr., but then he fumbles, giving OU the ball back. And then, first play after OU gets the ball back, Jackson Arnold fumbles after getting sacked, giving Ole Miss the ball back again. But the Oklahoma defense put the team on their back, stopping Ole Miss from scoring on the drive. Jackson Arnold then redeems himself, hitting Jacob Jordan for the 9-yard tutty, giving OU the lead 14-10 at the half, while leaning heavily on the ground game with 125 rushing yards. But Ole Miss put the clamps on after the break. The Sooners were held to just 22 rushing yards in the second half and didn't cross midfield until late in the fourth quarter. Now for Ole Miss, Jackson Dart put it in the air, going 22 for 30 with 311 yards and a tutty. Caden Prescorn hauled in 5 catches for 71 yards, including a key 24-yard reception in the third. Ole Miss followed that up with a 1-yard tutty from the big fella, J.J. Pegues, their go-to guy for short yardage plays. Those 2 scores in the third quarter turned the game around, giving the Rebels a lead they never gave up. And let's talk about Oklahoma's QB situation. Jackson Arnold got the start for the first time since week 5. Arnold was solid, going 22 for 31 with 182 yards and 2 tutties, but ran into serious trouble down the stretch. The Rebels defense brought the heat with 3 straight sacks. Ole Miss came into this matchup ranked number 1 against the run, allowing just 66.6 rushing yards per game. And they showed why. Now this was the bounce back game the Rebels needed, especially after losing their star wideout, Trey Harris. Despite OU's strong first half, they just couldn't keep the momentum going. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss showed they're still a threat, even with injuries piling up. Their defense made a big statement, and Jackson Dart continues to mature as a passer. Now Oklahoma, they've got a lot to figure out after making some bold coaching moves mid-season. This win improves Ole Miss to 6-2 on the season and keeps them in the mix in the SEC West. Next up, Notre Dame puts the BTA on Navy, winning 51-14. A game where turnovers told the entire story. The Irish came with one mission: create turnovers. And boy, the Navy obliged, coughing it up 6 times, including 5 lost fumbles. Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love had a monster day, rushing for 102 yards and 2 tutties. Love's performance also extended his streak of games with rushing touchdowns to 8 straight contests. Meanwhile, QB Riley Leonard put on a show, going 13 for 21, 261 total yards, and 3 tutties, 1 on the ground, 2 in the air. The turnovers absolutely swung this game. Navy ended the matchup ranked 2nd in the nation in turnover margin, but Navy fumbled away their chances, literally. Notre Dame capitalized on the mistakes, scoring 28 points just off turnovers, including a fumble recovery that ended up being a touchdown by Jalen Sneed in the end zone. Notre Dame outgained Navy 466 yards to 310. The Irish controlled the game from start to finish, taking a 31-7 lead by halftime. This was also the most points allowed by Navy this season. Navy QB Blake Horvath did his best to keep things competitive, rushing for 129 yards and a 49-yard tutty, but it wasn't enough. Navy's offense simply couldn't recover from the avalanche of turnovers. Notre Dame looks locked in. They've now scored 30 or more points in 4 consecutive games. If the Irish maintain this balance on both sides of the ball, they could be a dark horse in the playoff conversation. This loss drops previously unbeaten Navy to 6-1, while Notre Dame improves to 7-1, extending their winning streak over Navy to 7 games. Ohio State gets a struggle win over Nebraska, 21-17, now sitting at 6-1 overall and 3-1 in Big Ten play. They avoided an upset alert after losing to Oregon 2 weeks ago, but this wasn't the dominant response Buckeye fans were hoping for. They only converted 1 out of 10 third downs and punted 5 times. They only rushed for 64 yards, a rare off day for guys like Quinshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson. I got to give Nebraska some credit though. They came ready to play, taking a 17-14 lead early in the fourth with Dante Dowdell's 1-yard touchdown and a gutsy 2-point conversion that had Ohio State shook. But QB Will Howard stepped up again, delivering a clutch 9-yard touchdown pass to Judkins with just over 6 minutes left. Howard finished with 221 passing yards, 3 tutties, and 1 pick, including a 60-yard bomb to Jeremiah Smith. For Smith, that's touchdown number 8 this season, tying him with Ohio State legend Chris Carter for most by a freshman in school history. Pretty special, huh? Nebraska's defense gave Ohio State problems. They also had a golden opportunity in the third quarter after Malcolm Hartzell Jr. returned the interception to Ohio State's 7-yard line. But Ohio State's defense held strong, stopping Nebraska at the goal line that changed the course of the game. Now, Ohio State survived, but it wasn't pretty. They'll need to clean things up fast with tougher Big Ten matchups ahead. Alabama bounced back in a big way, putting the BTA on Missouri, winning 34-0. This win keeps Bama's playoff hopes alive after 2 tough losses in the past 3 weeks. Meanwhile, Missouri had a rough day, losing starting QB Brady Cook to a hand injury in the first half, and it only went downhill from there. Alabama's defense was on fire, forcing 3 interceptions, all off backup QB Drew Pine, who had to step in after Cook exited with just 30 passing yards. The Tide's defense also held Missouri to 239 yards, with a goal line stand late in the game to preserve the shutout. This marks Alabama's second shutout of the season and the first against the SEC opponent since 2020. Alabama's defense set the tone from the jump, with Malachi Moore returning Pine's first pass for 31 yards to set up a Jam Miller 3-yard tutty. It was only 6-0 when Cook left the game, but Missouri's offense never recovered after that. Offensively, Alabama wasn't perfect, but Jalen Milroe had a solid game, going 16 for 26 with 215 passing yards. He also ran for 50 yards, including a nifty 9-yard tutty where he bounced off the blocker in reverse field. Meanwhile, Alabama's rushing attack came alive with 271 yards on the ground. Justice Haynes added a 35-yard touchdown run, and Richard Young ripped off a 62-yard dash to close the game out. The Boys' defensive adjustments paid off big time, especially after Alabama struggled defensively in previous games. This win helps Alabama improve to 6-2 overall with a critical game against LSU November 9th. Alabama isn't out of the playoff conversation yet, but they have no room for error. For Missouri, losing Cook hurt bad, and with injuries piling up, they'll need to regroup fast before facing Oklahoma after the bye. Oregon made a statement with their jerseys and their win today. The Ducks, led by QB Dylan Gabriel, cooked Illinois with a 31-9 win to stay undefeated at 8-0. Gabriel continues to impress, going 18 for 26, 296 total yards, 4 tutties, 1 on the ground, and 3 in the air, while the Ducks piled up a whopping 527 total yards of offense. Gabriel's focus is sharp and is paying off, with 18 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing scores this season. He's also climbing the NCAA's career passing yards leaderboard, passing Timmy Chang, and now sits at 17,236 yards. He's inching closer to Case Keenan's all-time record of 19,217 yards, adding a Heisman-worthy twist to his incredible season. The Ducks' 31-3 first-half explosion all but sealed the win. Gabriel's pinpoint passes found both Tez Johnson, who racked up 102 yards and a score, and Justice Lowe, who scored his first career tutty on a 34-yard reception, with Noah Whittington scoring on both a 2-yard reception and an 18-yard run, trucking a defender along the way. The Ducks have now beat the brakes off 3 ranked teams this season, including their stunning 32-31 win over Ohio State. This marks their first 8-0 start since 2013. With Gabriel leading the country in completion percentage at 77%, Oregon looks primed for a deep playoff run. Illinois came into this game with momentum, fresh off a 21-7 win over Michigan, but they just couldn't get it done against Oregon. QB Luke Altmaier threw for 161 yards, but Illinois missed several red zone opportunities, including a turnover on downs at the Oregon 2-yard line. Khalil Valentine provided their only touchdown of the night with a third-quarter run, but it was too little, too late. Oregon looks unstoppable, and Gabriel's leadership is giving the team serious national title vibes. With their next few games being critical in the Big Ten, the Ducks will need to stay sharp to keep their perfect season alive. Well, it looks like the Longhorns are back on track. Quinn Ewers in Texas bounced back from a tough loss to Georgia last week with a 27-24 struggle win over Vanderbilt in their SEC road debut. Ewers shook off a shaky start with an early tip pass that led to an interception, but after that, he was lights out, completing 17 straight passes for 288 yards and 3 tutties. This was Texas' chance to show they can handle the pressure for SEC road games, and they delivered. Ewers found DeAndre Moore Jr. for 2 tutties, including a 25-yard catch and run that gave Texas a 21-7 lead by the second quarter. That kind of efficiency will make a big difference as the Longhorns push for a playoff spot. Vanderbilt kept things close thanks to QB Diego Pavia. He threw for 143 yards and 2 tutties, and added 67 rushing yards with a scrambling score that gave the Commodores an early 7-0 lead. Pavia also found Eli Stowers for a clutch 8-yard tutty in the final minute to put Vanderbilt within 3 points. But Texas recovered the onside kick and ran the clock out. This was their first time ranked in top 25 in the regular season since 2008. And they were riding a 3-game win streak, but the Longhorns were just a step ahead. Leona LaFau made a crucial interception on 4th and 2 late in the game, setting up Bert Auburn's second field goal to put the game out of reach. The Longhorns showed resilience after last week's setback, and Ewers proved he's the guy to lead the team down the stretch. With Arch Manning waiting in the wings, Sarkisian sticking with Ewers speaks volumes about the team's confidence. If Texas can keep this momentum, they'll be tough to beat in the SEC. Now, Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffs took care of business, beating Cincinnati 34-23 to become bowl eligible for the first time in a full season since 2016. Deion Sanders has the program cooking, and this win pushes them into the national rankings. Shedeur Sanders, recovering from the flu, was locked in. 25 for 30, 323 yards, and 3 tutties. He completed his first 15 passes, a new program record. And once again, he was in sync with the do-it-all phenom, Travis Hunter. Hunter racked up 9 catches for 153 yards and 2 tutties. And on defense, he broke up 4 passes. Coach Prime isn't shy about his belief in Travis Hunter's talent. One of the game's biggest moments came just before halftime. With 33 seconds left, Colorado stuffed Cincinnati's Brendan Thorsby on 4th and 1 at midfield. A few plays later, Shedeur found Hunter for the touchdown, flipping the momentum and giving Colorado the lead at halftime, 24-14. While Shedeur Sanders was brilliant, there were a few hiccups, like 3 unsportsmanlike penalties. One flag erased a 57-yard touchdown from Jimmy Horn Jr., who flashed the peace sign while racing past the defender. Luckily, Hunter bailed him out with a short touchdown on the next drive. Cincinnati, now 5-3, put up a fight with Thorsby passing for 180 yards and 2 tutties, but they couldn't stop Colorado's offense. The Bearcats' defense managed just 1 sack and struggled to pressure Sanders all night. The Buffs not only dominated in the air, but found balance on the ground, adding 123 rushing yards. The Buffs stayed in control and secured the dub with a late 47-yard field goal by Alejandro Mata. So here's where it stands. Colorado is now 6-2. The hype is real, but the team seems locked in. Bowl eligibility is checked off, and now they look to finish strong. Alright, we got an upset alert with this one, as Texas A&M takes down LSU, winning 38-23. Thanks to some bold quarterback moves from Mike Elko, the Aggies remain the only undefeated team in SEC play. And it looks like they're making a serious run for their conference title. Marcel Reed came off the bench and ran for 3 tutties in the second half to flip the script. Reed replaced Connor Wigman, who was struggling with just 64 yards passing through the third quarter. Gave the Aggies exactly what they needed, scoring touchdowns on 4 straight possessions to leave LSU stunned. The numbers tell the story. A&M racked up 242 rushing yards compared to just 24 yards for LSU. Reed himself added 62 rushing yards along with 70 yards passing on only 2 attempts, including a 54-yard bomb to Noah Thomas. That helped set up another touchdown. This win marks A&M's 7th victory since losing their first game to Notre Dame. On the other side, Gary Nussmeier threw for 405 yards and 2 tutties, but he also tossed 3 interceptions, all in the second half, killing any momentum LSU had. Tigers also botched the field goal attempt when the snap bounced off the holder's shoulders. Coach Brian Kelly was not happy, calling mistakes unacceptable. Texas A&M's defense deserves credit too, with key plays like B.J. May's interception, which set up Reed's first touchdown. They were flying around everywhere, playing with purpose, and clearly embracing the new energy under Mike Elko. The Aggies are now 5-0 in SEC play for the first time, and Elko isn't shy about the program's growth.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. It's not a politician running this program, talking fast and BSing everybody. This is a real program, and for all the recruits out there, this is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
LSU had early success with a 76-yard tutty by Aaron Anderson and a 2-yard touchdown reception from Mason Taylor, but they couldn't capitalize on key moments, missing 2 field goals and failing on a crucial 2-point conversion in the fourth. With the loss, LSU falls to 6-2, putting their conference title hopes on thin ice. And Marcel Reed just made a big case to stay on the center for Texas A&M. With this kind of dynamic offense, the Aggies are looking dangerous down the stretch. And with their defense locking in, Texas A&M's first SEC championship appearance feels more realistic. And that's a wrap from this episode of the OE Podcast. Texas rebounds against Vanderbilt, A&M stuns LSU, and Colorado punches their ticket into a bowl game. We saw some clutch performances, major coaching decisions, and momentum-shifting moments across the board. We got teams hunting for conference titles, Heisman hopefuls making their case, and the road to postseason heating up. There's plenty more to talk about next week. Next time, we'll dive deeper into the playoff picture and recap the biggest matchups, as well as look at some dark horse teams that can still make a splash. But whether you're riding high like the Aggies or hoping to bounce back like LSU, stay locked in. Like always, make sure you hit that subscribe button, share with a friend, drop a comment. Holla at your boy. I'm K Sounds. This is the OE Podcast. I'm out.